Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to the big show. Trump's expected to declare a national emergency to kick off his mass deportation program once he takes office. What does that mean, and will it work? 800-288-9227. Let's ask my next guest, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. She is an immigration attorney, Lincoln Goldfinch Law. What does this mean, Trump declaring a national emergency? Is this going to affect me and the guy listening at all?
So I think what we're going to see is that the Trump administration is going to start pulling in military resources to apprehend undocumented migrants all over the United States. And they'll be taken into detention centers or deportation camps that will be stood up, and they will be detained temporarily, and many of them deported without due process rights, without having a lawyer, going before a judge. And I think the thing that a lot of people may not consider, if there's not a particular immigrant or immigrant family that you're concerned about, is the ripple effect that this will have on the overall economy and also on the people who are, employ a lot of these workers, or whose houses are built by them, or whose restaurants they attend. So I think that there will be a massive impact of these apprehensions and deportations that maybe people aren't considering at this point.
Who says that they're not considering it? Because I'm under the understanding that if we do take a lot of these people who are employed in some of these lower skilled jobs, that the cost to rehire natives is going to be higher than that. And yeah, so the price at the restaurant may go up a little bit, or the price to get your lawn mowed may go up a little bit. But that looks like we are finding a way to raise the wages of the lowest income in the population, lowest income people, the lower class.
I think the thing that people don't often consider is that we actually have a gap in labor in our economy on really all levels of the skill spectrum, but particularly in the labor level. So when we're talking about the low-level jobs of the factory workers, the meat processing plants, agricultural work, gardening work, landscaping, construction, that a massive shift in that sector is going to really detrimentally impact the overall economy and the people who rely on all of those things, which is all of us. So I think it's short-sighted to think, oh, well then, wages might go up in other ways. I mean, economic studies don't really support it, that it's not a zero-sum game like that with immigrant labor, but I think the thing that is not being discussed is the need in our economy for immigrant labor. We have not only do we need, sort of these low skilled labor jobs filled, but we also have an aging baby boomer population exiting the workforce, and we're not replacing the workforce at the same rate. And on top of that, as we have our baby boomers aging, we have people who need a lot of care, and we have, jobs for people who care for the elderly. So I think what my point is that the impact will be felt much more widely with all of us. And I think a lot of people are really not considering that. They're just thinking, well, okay, somebody's undocumented, they committed a crime and they need to go, and that's the end of that. But really the harm to all of us and the harm to the economy, I mean, if you're not moved by the humanitarian angle, that's fine, but the harm overall to this country is going to be massive if Trump actually, completes the plan of deporting the undocumented population, which really I think what would happen is thousands of people will be caught up and deported, and then there will be lawsuits, and then the program will be blocked. And so I don't think ultimately at the end of the day, the whole undocumented population in the country is going to be apprehended and deported. It's not actually possible, but we will feel some effects from it depending upon how far they go.
Well, how do you explain a state like Maine? They are less than 2% Hispanic. They have almost no undocumented immigrants, and their economy seems to be doing just fine. They're still building houses. They still get their lawns mowed. They still have their old people being taken care of.
Well, I mean, I haven't studied the economics of Maine, but I have studied the economics of immigration and national economics of immigration. And what we're talking about is a national deportation scheme. We're not talking about something in Maine. So this is going to impact everybody in every state. And, for example, in states like Iowa, the legislature passes programs where children can work in factories and the companies can be indemnified from injuries to those children because labor is such an issue. Or states like Kansas are paying people, $5,000 to come to the state and take jobs. So it's inaccurate. It's misleading to say, Maine doesn't have a labor issue. I can't speak to that, but I can tell you that nationally.
Well, then how do you know it's inaccurate? That's totally accurate. And people having incentives to go take some of these lower skilled jobs, that's a good thing. That means the poor among us, the lower skilled, are going to be making more money in the future. It'll just be Americans making the money. I just don't buy the fact that America would fall apart without illegal non-Americans flooding our country. And even if we do require, a more immigrant population to help out with some of these jobs, why can't they just be legal? Why can't we kick out the illegal ones and just replace them with legal ones? We have a waiting list of like 13 years for people to get in from Mexico. How about we use some of those people who have followed the system, followed the rules, paid the time, done the forms, and and reward them instead of the people who skipped them?
So what you're arguing for is actually an expansion of immigration, which
yes.
I think is wise. It's right. But we're not seeing that. That's not on the table. Congress isn't discussing an expansion of immigration. So what we have is... That
doesn't make it not a good idea.
It does make it not a good idea. What I'm saying is the impact on our economy is going to be awful. And we're being short-sighted right now by saying, people are undocumented, let's just get rid of them. We don't have an alternative solution.
How is that short-sighted?
To serve because our economy will suffer, we will all suffer.
No, you say that, but when we've had mass deportations in the past and our economy did just fine. In the 50s, when we had Operation Wetback, I'm sorry, that's what it was legally called, we didn't have any ripple effects to the economy.
Listen, we will have ripple effects on the economy.
They have to be illegal then. Do we just have to have illegal immigrants? We can't deport these people without illegal. Even legal immigrants not good enough. We have to have these illegal immigrants here or our economy dies. I don't buy it.
If we expand legal the solution to the immigration problem is actually so simple. This solution would solve the problems at the border. It would solve the issue of undocumented immigration. If we could stop pretending like immigrants are bad and we could get Congress to actually get together and say, what are the needs of our nation?
I don't think one person, I don't think one person is pretending like illegal immigrants are bad. We're saying illegal immigrants are bad. And when you conflate them with legal immigrants, that's not doing anybody any favors. And I find that to be intellectually dishonest.
Then why don't we have a law supporting legal immigration that reflects the needs of our economy? Why don't we have expanded employment visa options? Why don't we have expanded family-based immigration options? We don't have laws that support legal immigration, yet we have jobs for immigrants.
Then why don't we advocate for that instead of letting the illegal system run amok?
Great.
I think
I wish everyone would. I wish we could all get together, all of us on all sides, and say we want legal immigration that supports our needs.
I'll stand with you on that if you say, okay, if we get that, then I will support mass deportations of illegals. Would you be okay with mass deportations of illegals under those circumstances?
No, I can no.
Well, I appreciate you sticking with it. It was a spirited debate. Thank you very much for coming on. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch Law. She's an immigration attorney. And thank you for your time on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, your thoughts, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Am I wrong? Would our economy just fall apart if we got rid of illegal immigrants? Is that really the argument? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, apparently that last segment hit a nerve with some people. I know you can't see behind the scenes here, but I have a call screening board, and it looks like I stepped on an ant pile over here. Just that. What did she say? What did my last guest say? That if America was just full of Americans, it would collapse. The economy would be worthless. We can't handle it. Just Native Americans can't do these jobs. There's not enough of us. We wouldn't do it anyway. We'd be too expensive. If we did the mass deportation, it would hurt our economy. Do you buy that? Trump's mass deportation program would collapse our economy, would hurt our economy, would cause a lot of pain to you and me. Because give her credit, I asked straight up first question, like, how would this have any effect on me or the guy listening to us? And it was not a direct effect. It was an indirect effect. Now, you and I know you've thought of this. We're not like small. I don't think people have thought this out. No, we've thought it out. We know that it'll probably cost a little bit more to get some guy to go up on the roof and nail in some shingles. We know it might cost a little bit more to go through the drive-through or go to any restaurant because we know who's in the back of the house. We know it'll probably cost more to get your lawn mowed or any of these other stereotypical low or medium skilled labor positions. We know. Oh, that's baked in the cake. We are well aware of that. That is a trade-off I think all the American people have thought about and are willing to accept long before they went into the ballot box on November 5th. Yeah, we'll trade that. I'll pay a little bit more for my food at a restaurant so I don't have to hear any more about Lake and Riley's of the world. I'll pay a little bit more so I don't have to have Train de Aragua taking over apartment buildings in Texas. I'll pay a little bit more. That's fine by me. No, we thought of that. It's okay. And maybe we do find out that America needs more people in here and we need immigrant labor, but can it just be legal? And that was the crux for me. Well, you're allowed to disagree with me. You're allowed to have different opinions. And, you know, there's a lot of things we talk about on this show that are subjective. But when I threw out that last scenario to her and I was like, okay, even if we do the other reforms, even if we say we're going to increase our legal immigration to make up for the loss of the mass deportations, would you be against it then? She still said no. So she's just against mass deportations, period, point blank, end of story. I don't look, she's probably, I'll give her best intentions here. She probably thinks she's doing the right thing just from a humanitarian point of view. But I have a feeling that's not what a lot of people out there think. 800-288-9227. I'm really getting insulted with the idea that the only reason this country has a good economy is there's a bunch of illegal non-Americans coming in here doing all the heavy lifting. That's an insult. Just like that's an insult, there's jobs Americans won't do. That's an insult against whites and blacks here in America. Like we're on the same team in that. You don't think I'd cut grass? I remember I should have saved the clip. It was sometime last week on The View. They were talking about the mass deportation program. And I think it was Sunny Hostin. She was saying, there's jobs out there they don't want to do. They say they're okay with it, but they don't want their kid to grow up and cut lawns. Says who? You think I have 4 kids. You think I'd be bothered if one of my kids was a landscaper when he grew up? Heck no. I'd do it through his 20s, do it in his 30s. Maybe he could like have his own crew. Because she looks at that, and I think people, especially those who've never lived out in the country, you know, like us bug tussle people, we know what's going on when that guy pulls up and he lets the crew out and they go mow a lawn in like 20 minutes, lightning efficiency. These are not the dregs of society. These are not the poor people. We know people like that. We grew up with people like that. I had friends whose dad was doing that. We know that when the guy pulls up, even though it's dirty, even though it's got a trailer full of dirty equipment in there, that's a Ford F-250 Platinum. With those, with that tire package you got on there, that's an $80,000 truck. And I know these people. He probably went up there and I paid cash for that $some. I've heard them. I know them. This is who I grew up with. They're doing better than you are. Well, not better than Sunny Hostin, but they make more money than me. Dude, if you run a lawn crew, you probably make as much, if not more money than me. Heck yeah, I'd be cool with that. Get out there, get a little exercise, get to be in the sun, get some fresh air. You can say cuss words and no one gets offended. You don't have to worry about being politically correct. There's no snowflakes. There's no social justice warriors on a lawn crew. I've had labor jobs. On a construction site, woo, it's foul. You'll love it. 800-288-9227. Steve in Weatherford, would this economy fall apart without illegal immigrants? Steve, it's you. Go.
Hello?
Yeah,
Can
go
you hear
ahead.
me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely it would not. And you're exactly right. And she was completely wrong. We need to get the illegals out now. We need to return to legal immigration. Come across legally and do all the roofing you want, no problem. We need to roll back U.S. entitlements to able-bodied American citizens so they can get off the couch and go get a job. She did not consider the cost of illegals to this country when they come over and American taxpayers are having to support their whole family while dad or brother, puts shingles on the roof. She didn't consider those costs. That's a negative impact to our economy, I think, greater than what good impacts the illegal brings to the economy. And last, we need to buy that lady a plane ticket to Venezuela.
All right. Thank you very much. That's what Steve thinks. What do you think? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. So we have a little bit of movement here. There's a lot going on. Trump's announcing appointments and foreign policy statements and domestic policy statements. And, of course, the mass deportation program is what we're talking about right now. Here in Texas, there's a giant ranch that the state of Texas had acquired because we were going to use it for, border wall purposes. But in the meantime, we say, hey, for that big mass deportation program you got going, we could use this area as an internment camp. So, it's back in the news today, but I had a guest who was trying to make the case that the mass deportation program is a bad idea because it will hurt our economy. I don't believe that. What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Bo in Mansfield, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
I don't think that it's going to crash the economy. I think that what she's overlooking is the millions or billions, whatever the number is, that we're going to pay to support these people is more detrimental than the deportation. You can't hire illegals. Corporations and farms aren't hiring illegals. After 9/11, they're forced to go through E-Verify, which documents, they have to have their documents run through the government to confirm they can work here, where they didn't used to have to go through that. Used to, you could hire an illegal real easy. After about a year or two, you might let them go, whatever. But it doesn't happen that way anymore.
Who do you hire?
So I hire mainly Hispanic workers.
Sounds like it. Are you in the ag business?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I was
landscapers, ag farm, agriculture, they use the H-2B program set up by the government. The Department of Agriculture has a program set up for ag workers. Like there's ways for these workers to come here and be migrant workers. It's not a problem.
Yeah. So in my observation here in Dallas and when I was going to college in East Texas, everyone that's working in the back of the house that's illegal, all they have to do is get a social security number. It'll check out. They'll pass the E-Verify. The owner of the business will get a note. Hey, all this Social Security taxes you've been paying, this is a duplicate number. Or this isn't a real number. Or we have an issue with that number. Every once in a while, like a red flag would pop up. They would notify the business owner, but then nothing else would happen. They would just continue on about their merry way, working for a whole nother year as an illegal. So when you say you can't hire illegals, well, you can't legally hire illegals, but it happens.
Okay, well, if they went through the E-Verify process, they didn't make it a year. They didn't make it a day. The old process where you just filled out your I-9s and you provided 2 forms of documents, you could get by with that for a year, 2 years, sometimes 5 years before the government would come and say, hey, this is a duplicate number. E-Verify, that catches all that. That's why that was put in place.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's catching it. So I think it's stopping some people, but it was what every restaurant did. Because I talked to, it was a little restaurant I worked for here where I got into the details of it and learned about all like the tax red flags that pop up. And she said, the owners is she says, well, we kind of have to do that because all the other restaurants are doing that, and they all do the same thing. All you got to do is go get a social security number, fill it out. You'll get the red flag, but no one ever comes and puts cuffs on anyone or takes them away. So they just keep the ball rolling. At least it stops it somewhere, though. Bo in Mansfield, I appreciate your outlook on it since you're a guy who does hiring and you know more about this than me for sure.
I haven't seen that experience. I haven't seen E-Verify not catch someone. They always catch them right off the bat.
I have. That's how it works. All right. Thank you, Bo. I got a lot more calls, and some people do not look very happy. George in Fort Worth, you're next up on the James Show. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, they tried this before. A day without an illegal in 2006, I believe it was in August or September. And there was 400,000 people in Chicago marching saying that we can't possibly live without these people. They didn't show up to their restaurant jobs. They didn't show up to a lot of jobs. But you know what? We didn't miss a beat. We went on. I went did my business. I worked at that time.
It feels a little racist, this argument, doesn't it? Like, you can't handle it without us, because they had that movie, A Day Without a Mexican. I'm like, okay, well, now you're absolutely being racist, because you're saying, like, hey, you native whites and blacks, y'all can't handle these jobs. You're too big as sissies. You can't put the shingles on a roof, or you can't frame a house, or you can't clean the algae out of somebody's pool. I mean, it's a really condescending ivory tower projection we're hearing with that argument, and it's ugly. I can't believe it's this popular.
Yes, and I did shingling on roofs. I'm in my 70s and I cut my own grass. I do my own yard work, my own auto repair work. I do everything for myself, and I'm in my 70s.
Yep, I've done manual labor jobs. I'm with you. And listen, I lived in places where it was only white people. In Northwest Oklahoma, in the town I lived in, it was all white people. They did all the jobs. If you went to the back of a restaurant, the dishwasher, it was a white fella. The guy who mowed your grass, it was a white fella. The lady who scrubbed the toilets in the hotel. You won't believe this. They were willing to do the jobs. They're not actually beneath them. We're all actually pretty equal, no matter what our skin color is. Isn't that weird? Monique in Fort Worth, you're next up on the James Show. What do you think, Monique?
Well, good afternoon. So 3 things. One thing first is they absolutely, jobs are not required to have E-Verify there. It is not mandatory, although I wish it would be, because when I used to work at Tyson Foods in Vernon, Texas, it was a lot of illegals working there, and I know that for a fact.
Yep.
Now, 2, I guess people don't know what a worker's visa is. Like, if these jobs really need these workers, they would invest more into workers' visas. So my 3rd thing is that what I try to explain to people in my neighborhood, we call it the hood, in Fort Worth, east side of Fort Worth, is the way Democrats claim to care about you. Do you not know that their policies will actually hurt us? Because listen, if they have their way and make all these illegal aliens, give them a path to citizenship, guess what? All those so-called behind the, how do they say it, shadows and stuff, that ain't gonna be no more. So those jobs you think they're doing that you can't do, guess what's gonna happen after they get a pathway to citizenship? They're gonna be able to now compete with you for the so-called good jobs. Then who's gonna be doing the jobs that we don't want to do? We gonna be stuck doing them. You know why? Because you don't got much of an education. Your work ethic is horrible, and you just the people gonna screw you. So I just be trying to tell folks I know, listen, all that making them folks legal so because you feel bad for them and stuff, they ain't gonna feel bad for you, because at the end of the day, Black Americans, you have nowhere else to go to. You don't know nothing about Africa. You don't know nothing about them people over there. But these Mexicans, these illegals, they got somewhere to go. When they get put out, they got somewhere to go. This is your last hope. You ain't got nowhere else to go. The Mexicans, when they go home, they can speak English. They can speak English, so they're gonna be able to prosper where they from.
Monique,
you can't speak a lick of African.
I love your enthusiasm. Please call back. I wish I would hear more of that from the community that's affected most, probably, by illegal immigration. Mass deportation. Will it collapse our economy? It seems like the consensus here is no. I didn't get to talk to everyone that called in, but there wasn't one person that was disagreeing with me, except for the immigration attorney. That was my guest a couple segments ago. That's interesting. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up, David Hamilton from America's Future Series. Germany said, we'll be the staging point for World War III. It's like, oh, no, not again. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.